Alhamdulillah wa kafa. Wa salamun ala ibadi alladhina astafa. Amma ba'd. Fa'udhu billahi minash shaitani rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Wallahu yaqbidu wa yabsutu wa ilayhi turja'un. Subhana rabbika rabbil izzati amma yasifun. Wa salamun ala al-mursaleen. Walhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد بارك وسلم. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد بارك وسلم. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد بارك وسلم. ربي اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. Dear respected brothers, elders, sisters, mothers, we live in a world that is in a state of constant flux, a state of change. And it changes between growth and decline, between expansion and contraction, between increase and decrease. And this happens on all levels, individually and collectively. So we see, for example, economic flux. Sometimes we are, mashallah, in a very good state economically, and the bank balance is nice, and so many things that the dunya is opening up to us due to maybe a promotion or a new job, maybe a new market, new business opportunities. And then we see other times the opposite, straitened conditions, difficult conditions. All of a sudden you lose your job, or you lose a contract, a major contract, or lose clients. A state of constant flux. We see that mentally. We see that spiritually. Sometimes we're in such a high. Ramadan comes and we feel so energetic, elevated, or just we're praying 2 rak'ah prayer and we feel that rush and that sweetness of iman. Other times, not so high, right? You are doing your adhkar, but you don't feel it. You are doing some ibadah and it just doesn't come, right? So this constant flux is there. Even on a collective level, a society level, we see there's times in society and in history where there's a lot of growth. There's a lot of growth. There's a lot of justice. There's a lot of goodwill amongst the people. And then you see other times where everything is just, everyone is for themselves. Nobody cares about each other. Right? So this constant flux is something that we're accustomed to, individually and collectively. So the question is that, do we ever ask ourselves why? Do we ever ask ourselves, who's the one that is causing this? Many times this question goes left unanswered. But Allah Ta'ala has mentioned in the Quran that Wallahu yaqbidu wa yabsut. He is the one that He constricts and He expands. And to Him, you'll return. So Allah Ta'ala, out of His beautiful names, there's 2 names that we're going to discuss today, inshallah. Al-Qabid, and Al-Basit. And it's coming from this ayah here. Qabada yaqbidu and basata yabsutu. So the 2 names, Al-Qabid and Basit, are actually not explicitly mentioned in the Quran. This ayah is alluding to that, because Allah Ta'ala is the one that constricts, yaqbidu. And Allah Ta'ala is the one that expands, yabsutu. And we know, as students of Arabic, that the doer of this type of action is the ismul fa'il. Right? So from there, the one who is constricting is known as Al-Qabid, and the one that is expanding, Al-Basit. But these 2 names particularly are not mentioned in the Quran directly as such. However, there is a narration in Abu Dawud where the Prophet ﷺ has mentioned that Allah Ta'ala is Al-Qabid, Al-Basit, Al-Raziq. So those names are mentioned in the hadith. So when you look at these names, it's important to see what it entails. So Mullah Ali Qari, he writes, وَاللَّهُ يَقْبِضُ وَيَبْسُطُ أي في كل شيء من الأخلاق والرزاق والأشباح والأرواح إذا قبض فلا طاقة وإذا بسط فلا فاقة. That Allah Ta'ala restricts and expands in everything: character, sustenance, outward forms, and souls. When Allah Ta'ala wants to restrict something, then there is no power that can make it expand. And when He wants to expand, then nothing can stop Him. Allah Ta'ala is Al-Qabid, Al-Basit. So when we look at the base letters of Al-Qabid, Qaf, Ba, Dad, with regard to people, it means to clench, like clench, to hold in one's hand, to withhold, to clench. It's meant as a way to forcefully take control. When you have something in your hand, it's like, I have control of it, right? This is how we feel. So Allah Ta'ala is in control more than we feel we have in our control in our hand. So Al-Qabid is the one who contracts, the being who restricts, the withholder of sustenance and other things. The opposite side, Ba, Sa, Sin, Ta, Basata. It means to spread out, to stretch, to extend. Same, also used for hand with regards to humans. So Al-Basit, the one who expands, the spreader of sustenance. So Allah Ta'ala is Al-Qabid and Al-Basit. And when you look at and research the name, subhanAllah, you get to see how so many different spheres that this name applies. It's mentioned that Allah Ta'ala is Al-Qabid. He's the one that causes the souls to die, and He seizes the soul at the time of death. And that's why we leave this world. Just like He's Al-Basit, He's the one that puts the soul into the body. It's been mentioned about Al-Qabid and Basit regarding the sun, that Allah Ta'ala is the one that changes that day, night and day, step by step, step by step. And if you look at just the sunrise and sunset, as we're going now to shorter days, there's not a single day where the time's exactly the same. I was looking at the data. Like, is there a time when it's exactly the same? Every single day, the daylight is increasing by a minute or minute and a half or 2 minutes until it reaches the point where it then flips and the daylight goes in the opposite direction by a minute and a half. There's no single time where it's exactly the same. Always change, always change. To highlight that this is the nature of our life, always change. Every day we're going to be in a state of flux. And then there's other spheres where Al-Qabid and Al-Basit is mentioned. But I want to highlight two aspects, since these are very pertinent to us. Allah Ta'ala is Al-Qabid, Al-Basit, meaning He is a constrictor and expander of provisions. Right? This is something we always and constantly worry about. Allah Ta'ala is mentioned in the Quran, Allah yabsutu rizqa liman yasha min ibadihi wa yaqdiru lah. Surah Al-Ankabut. That Allah Ta'ala grants abundant sustenance or gives in limited measure to whomever He wills. To whomever He wills. Allah Ta'ala is in control of who He gives the sustenance to. In another ayah, وَلَوْ بَسَطَ اللَّهُ الرِّزْقَ لِعِبَادِهِ لَبَغَوْا فِي الْأَرْضِ وَلَكِنْ يُنَزِّلُ بِقَدْرٍ مَا يَشَاءُ إِنَّهُ بِعِبَادِهِ خَبِيرٌ بَصِيرٌ. Surah Ash-Shura. Had Allah Ta'ala given abundant provisions to all His servants, they will certainly transgress through the land. But He sends down whatever He wills in perfect measure. He is truly all aware, all seeing of His servants. So it shows you that no matter what we try to do in this world, we will always be limited. Because Allah Ta'ala is the one that is in full control. So if you imagine, the richest person in the world, now or any time, they're not satisfied with being the richest person in the world, even though no one is on top of them. If they could, they would want to own the entire world and then move beyond. Right now we're moving into space. I want to own the moon now, or Mars. Right? It doesn't end. But it's Al-Qabid that restricts that person, because that person has at his avail every single opportunity to try to grab everything that he can. And he tries, no doubt. He tries. But who's the one that restricts him? Al-Qabid. Al-Qabid. So when we're thinking that Allah Ta'ala has given so much wealth to somebody, it's all relative. It's all relative. Because you're thinking, at your level, Allah Ta'ala gave this person so much. Right? But that person that is at the top, there's nobody higher than him. He's thinking, I haven't been given enough. I haven't been given enough. Al-Qabid is the one that restricts. Same thing. On the flip side, there are people that want to restrict everything. They don't want to even provide food. They don't want to provide basic necessities to live. And they would prefer nothing be given to the person or the group of people. And we see that in our day. But who is the one that stops them? Al-Basit. Allah Ta'ala will provide to whomever He wishes. You cannot stop. You cannot stop anybody. Right? You think you can stop. Allah Ta'ala is the only one that can stop. No matter how many plans and plots, because it's not in our control. That's the idea. It's not in our control. So when we look at our own risk and we look at our own sustenance, we have to think about the wisdom why Allah Ta'ala has given us what He's given us. And it's something that we have to be thankful for. It's something that we have to be grateful for. Because it's mentioned that if we were to be given what we want, then what would be the default state? لَبَغَوْا فِي الْأَرْضِ. We would transgress. That's the unfortunate circumstance. Maybe that's not initial intention. Maybe you say, I just need this money so I can help people. Inevitably, you start going that route, and then things start to change. Then it's not just about helping people. It's about maintaining a certain status. It's about maintaining a certain lifestyle. It's about maintaining a certain prestige and position. Right? And then the intention starts to switch. And then a person that had good intention at the beginning, all of a sudden, he's causing corruption on the earth. Why? Because of the abundant risk. So sometimes when you see that, and you look at those type of people, there's two things. One is that maybe they didn't start out that way. Right? So you give nasiha, maybe they will remember. Right? You see a person, a friend, he's out of college, and then he gets a good job. And mashallah, going from zero, and then now some of these jobs, 100K, 150K. Right? When you were in college, you're making that dua, oh Allah, I need that job because that's the first step in my life. Then I'll get married, then so many things will happen. I will give so much in your sake. All these good intentions come, right? And then you get that job. So you're having zero as a college student. All of a sudden, 150K. 150K. Wait a minute. Now, I need a nice car. I need that, Lexus or whatever, sports car. That's what we see, mashallah. Mashallah. The first thing you will go is to get that car. Or you get a new position at work. First thing is, I need to, get something for myself, right? And then you go. But what happens is we don't keep it within our limit, right? You say it's all about prestige now. So you can afford a $50,000 car, for example. Well, I'm making good money. I can pay off the payments. Let me just get the $75,000 car. Right? So that happens in one sphere. And then the house comes. And then, okay, well, I'm making good money. Let me get the next higher level in the better neighborhood. Right? And that's how it begins. all of a sudden, because when you're looking at that one item, you're like, I can afford it. And that's true. But you're not looking at all the other things that you're saying with the same thing for. So when you start adding it all up, then you're making 150, but you're spending 250. And then you're in 100,000 debt. Right? So this is the nature when we have abundant of risk. It goes, and it goes, and it goes. And that's still a good thing. There's other things where you will transgress. So you're transgressing yourself by going beyond your means. Right? So it is sometimes the wisdom of Allah Ta'ala that He doesn't give. He doesn't give. So then what happens is that dua is always there. That feeling of connectivity to Allah is always there. Right? Because you're not getting what you want. Only if I had that extra 10,000. Only if I could just to make ends meet. Right? But Allah Ta'ala loves that. Allah Ta'ala loves that when you are connected to Him. So we need to realize that it's a blessing whatever we have. And just having overabundance is not a blessing. That's a test. And when we think about these tests, it's hard to equate them, right? Equate the test of the pauper, the poor person with the rich person. We think that if we're in the rich person's state, then we'll pass the test. But it is so difficult when you have abundance to give the thanks that it requires for all the things that you have been given, compared to a person that is patiently having that beautiful sabr for not having the thing. Because it's a constant feeling of gratitude that comes. And this type of feeling of sabr that cannot be duplicated necessarily so easily when you have the things. And you see that in your life, because we're also in flux. Everybody has in their own life this type of situation. You just have to go back and you have to see yourself. Well, how was I acting when I was not getting what I wanted? How was I close to Allah Ta'ala? How was my dua? How was my ibadah? How was my sadaqah? You'll be surprised that you'll see yourself. I gave more sadaqah when I had no money. I gave more sadaqah because I was hoping that Allah Ta'ala will open the door, and that's a good deed. The moment that I have the money, all of a sudden, it starts going and transferring in other directions. What happened there? You're the same person. Money transformed, right? That's the nature. And we have to realize that Allah Ta'ala is in control. He is the one that can make the king into a beggar and the beggar into the king. And I learned this lesson when I was young. I was in high school and I was working downtown, as a stock boy. So, all of these are high school jobs. But one of my colleagues, he seemed to be like a very educated person. And I would talk to him. And then I found out he's a biomedical engineer. A biomedical engineer? What are you doing as a stock boy? $6.50 an hour. So he's like, I couldn't find any job. I couldn't do anything. This is all I could do. I didn't understand that. It's like, how you have a degree, you're such a very intellectual person. How can you not get a job? How can you not get a job? And how come you have the same job as me, which I have no experience, just being a high school kid? So that was like the first time that I thought, maybe it's not in our control, right? So everybody goes through that stage that first you think education, this is what your parents teach you. Your parents teach you education is the way to go. You get good education, all of a sudden the door will open up. And that is what we've been fed by society as well. Education will lead to growth. Education will make you educated. It doesn't necessarily make you rich. There's two different things there. Education is needed for you to understand, for have knowledge, but that will not make you rich. We have to think about that. We have to tell ourselves that, right? The second thing that made me think one time was when I went to Bangladesh, and I knew about a person through his wealth. He owned several large hotel chains. So I'm like, this person is so smart. And this person, made such business decisions. Then when I heard about his background, He was like he didn't pass his metric or like his high school equivalency. He was like a dropout. And he was working, in the system, slowly getting up the ranks, and he got break after break. Eventually, he owned a little motel type of thing, and then from there, he started going until he's the owner of these chains. And they say that he doesn't even know like how to do his handwriting, his write properly. So I was like, subhanallah, a person of such wealth but is not that educated. So that made me think, yes, Allah Ta'ala is the one that can lift and give the rizq to whoever He wishes. He's Al-Basit. If you see these type of examples in your life, you need to think about them and reflect on them. So that way, when we are doing our own deeds, then we can position ourselves and realize that what is the responsibility that we have with our wealth? Right? We try, whatever we've been given, we're content. Whatever we've been given, we give from that which we have been given, right? We've been ordered that. Not that the potential that will come in the future, from there I will give that. That's a good intention. But start with what you have in your hand. Because it may be that when that time comes, you will not be able to give. So that's, Allah Ta'ala loves a person, then He may restrict him in his rizq. That's the first idea that we want to get. Because Allah Ta'ala is Al-Qabid and Al-Basit, from His infinite wisdom. He gives to that He wishes, and He expands to who He wishes. So we should feel that it's a test either way, right? The second thing I want to highlight about Al-Qabid and Al-Basit is He is a constrictor and expander of the hearts. He is a constrictor and expander of the hearts. He is the one that takes hold of the hearts, and He is the one that can make them miserable and lonely. He is also Al-Basit, and He can expand the chests and make them happy and joyful. So this is very important. Allah Ta'ala is the one who can make us happy. Allah Ta'ala is the one that can make us sad. Al-Qabid and Al-Basit. Because this is what we're also losing out and missing out, right? Because education and money and status and all that are apparent means to enjoy happiness. But we know that. Every one of us has that one of those aspects or multiple of those aspects. But if it's not associated with deen, then we see the result. We see the results, and our society is seeing the result, because the more that they try to extinguish Allah Ta'ala from their lives, the more the material world doesn't help them. Right? So these are things that we're seeing. But now as a believer, we should reflect on these two names, because this state of qabd and bast, it's something that is discussed by the mashayikh, because that's something that is a flux, just like everything else. So economic flux is there, but the spiritual flux is there. And it's very important to understand, because sometimes, we go in the different direction. Just like, for example, when we're in Ramadan, and because the society is in that flux and that growth and that increase in their ibadah, we have that iman rush, we have that good feeling, we have that beautiful intention to do so much. And then we see that it dips, and it dips. But that's just part of who we are. That's part of our test. Because were you worshiping Allah for that feeling? You have to ask yourself, right? I came, and that was just a great feeling that I had being part of the collective community, worshiping and late into the night. Well, after Ramadan, you come to the masjid, you don't get that feeling. So you came for that feeling, right? Or did you come to worship Allah Ta'ala every night? So sometimes we go through states of qabd, where everything seems very restricted. But we're still making progress. Inshallah, if you're doing the a'mal, if you're continuing to, because that's a test. Will you be doing this for a taste, or will you be doing it because you're a servant of Allah Ta'ala? Other side is true, because sometimes we need that push, we need that energy. That's why when a person first becomes religious, generally he gets that taste test. He gets the taste test where all of a sudden he's praying and everything is blocked out. He's in sajda and he's enjoying it, the halawat of iman, right? Just to show that this is a taste. This is a taste. You have to work hard at it. It's a free taste. It's a free test. You go to these stores, they give you a free taste test. And maybe you can get another one. And then you say, can I have the whole thing? No, please buy it. Right? You'll have to buy it. You have to work hard at it. You'll get one or two. So the first time you pray, you get it. Second time you pray, you get it. After that, you have to work hard. You have to get up. You have to give. Then you'll start to get it. There'll be a time, you won't. I'm constantly giving, I don't feel anything. I'm constantly praying, I don't feel anything. Yes, that's the point. Doesn't matter if I feel or not. I'm a slave. I'm a slave. I will worship Allah Ta'ala under all circumstances. That's istiqamah. And when I get a feeling, alhamdulillah, that's a bonus. That's a bonus. So this thing constantly goes. And sometimes we get on the other side, it gets depressing, that you don't feel anything. But Allah Ta'ala in His infinite mercy, He starts to give at different times. Right? So whenever we feel this type of constriction, we have to look at our deeds. It is possible that some sin has caused this. It is possible. And we do istighfar, abundant istighfar, because we're constantly sinning. We don't know what action we did that allowed us to get into this state. So we do istighfar to get out of this state. But say you're doing all of those things and you're still feeling it. Diversify. Diversify. Allah Ta'ala maybe wants you to do other things. Have you given sadaqah? Have you done khidmat? Have you helped the orphan? There are thousands of deeds that we can do. And thousands of deeds. And just by being consistent in something is also like a stagnation. MashaAllah, I'm giving on a monthly basis. I'm giving on a daily basis, taking it straight out of my bank account. When you first give it and you see it come out, you feel that, I gave it, alhamdulillah. After a while, you just forget about it. It becomes automatic. Well, deen is not automatic. Deen comes and you have to increase more and more and more. More and more and more. That means you have to do something else. Do some other deed. Increase it. Right? It's constantly there. Inshallah, when you do that, these states will come and go. These states will come and go, and then you start to realize, yes, at times there are good times, and times there are bad times. So He's the one that gives us these spiritual states of qabd and bast that come into our hearts. Another way to look at it, some of the mashayikh had mentioned recent times, is like it's a window seat versus the aisle seat. You're on a plane or you're on a transportation and some mode there. The kids especially, they love to be on the window, right? You give them the aisle, they'll cry for the window seat. Why? Because you can see so many things. You see the beautiful sky, you see the little cars that look like little toys, right? And if you're in the aisle seat, or that window's closed, just nothing going on, right? There's nothing going on, it's just dark. But are you traveling? Yes, you're still traveling. You're still going to your destination. You're still going to a destination. So sometimes in our life, we are all traveling towards Allah Ta'ala. We're all traveling towards the Day of Judgment. If we do our good deeds, inshallah, we'll be there. Sometimes you'll get the aisle seat, sometimes the window seat. So keep that in mind, right? And if somebody's in the window seat there, if everybody's in the window seat, can the plane be full? It can't. So just this flux is there amongst our family, amongst the community. SubhanAllah, time is going fast. So just to connect to these names then, if you want to connect to Al-Qabid and Al-Basit, we need to display the right attitude when we're experiencing either state. So when we are respecting constriction and qabd, we have to have patience. We have to realize that this is just something that will come to pass. This is something that will come to pass. And we will be rewarded for the way that the attitude that we have towards that. The opposite is true. When you are everything is going your way, then you have to give thanks. And you cannot forget that Allah Ta'ala can restrict at any moment. And you utilize those means that you have, those resources, the energy that you have, to maximize your deeds at that time. Because you may not get that chance again. Maybe this is the chance where you have so much wealth that you can give. Don't postpone that. There's no guarantee that that amount of wealth that you have now, free wealth, expendable wealth, will come again. It may never come again. So try and find those projects, find those people to give that when you are in that state. Look for that. There's no guarantee, because that's not the test, that you're going to always have the money and always give. The test is now you had that money, what did you give? You don't want to be that person at the end, after it's gone. Oh, I had so much disposable income. But how did I use it? Was it only in material possessions? Or was it did I seal something in the bank of the akhirah that I can take out later? Something that to ask ourselves. At the same time, when a person knows Allah Ta'ala is Al-Qabid Al-Basit, he's not going to look at other people. He's not going to see other people and say, that person can benefit me. If I go to him, he'll give me more wealth. He'll give me more risk. Yes, you make effort, but that person by himself cannot do anything for you. You know that Allah Ta'ala is the one that restricts and the one that gives. You have the mentality, then the dealings and interaction between us can become much more harmonious. It's not like you're out to get my possessions. You're coming and you're taking my stuff. Sometimes you don't want to give any idea because the person might steal your idea. He's not stealing he's not going to take away your money. Allah Ta'ala is already going to give you that. Right? So that's what we share. We open up. We help each other. When we know that Allah Ta'ala is in control of that, then we will not be fighting over this. We will not be fighting over this. And we should not pin our hopes on anyone. At the same time, we should not despair if somebody is acting in a different manner to us. We shouldn't despair. Another way to connect to this name is that, well, you need to do qabd of your own self. You need to be qabid by holding back those things that displease Allah. You have to restrict yourself from those things that displease Allah Ta'ala. So that's how you connect. That I have things that in my life that I'm free to do, but I will not do that for the sake of Allah. At the same time, you use those means to increase from Allah Ta'ala, because He's Al-Basit. So we seek the aid and we seek the help from Him. There's one dua that's been mentioned in Hizb al-Azam. Allahumma ubsit alayna min barakatika wa rahmatika wa fadlika wa rizqika. Allahumma ubsit alayna. Oh Allah, expand upon us your blessings. Min barakatika, from your blessings. Wa rahmatika, from your mercy. Wa fadlika, from your favors. Wa rizqika, from your sustenance. And we can recite Ya Basitu, Ya Basitu. But it's been mentioned by the ulama, you don't recite Ya Qabidu, Ya Qabidu. If you recite Ya Qabidu, you link it to Ya Basit. Allah is Al-Qabid Al-Basit, because He's the one who restricts and He expands. That shows the full control and full power of Allah. But we can recite Ya Basitu. So we ask Allah Ta'ala for understanding of these two beautiful names, Al-Qabid, Al-Basit. We ask Allah Ta'ala to realize that He is the one that has always been in control of our sustenance, of all our spiritual states, of all the things that are around us. And we ask Allah Ta'ala that He gives us ability to act according to that. We ask Allah Ta'ala the ability for us to do istighfar when we're in difficult circumstances and have patience. We ask Allah Ta'ala to allow us to give thanks and give from our wealth abundantly when things are going well for us. We ask Allah Ta'ala to give what's best in this world and the next. Wa akhiru da'wana alhamdulillah rabbil alameen. Inshallah, we'll do some silent dhikr. When I say salawat, you can say Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad kama sallaita. Salawat, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. Hasbunallah wa ni'mal wakeel. Hasbunallah wa ni'mal wakeel. Hasbunallah wa ni'mal wakeel. Hasbunallah wa ni'mal Salawat. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala ali Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله لا حول ولا قوة صلوات اللهم صل على محمد وعلى ال محمد وبارك وسلم اللهم صل على محمد وعلى ال محمد. لا إله إلا أنت سبحانك إني كنت من الظالمين لا إله إلا أنت سبحانك إني كنت من الظالمين لا إله إلا أنت سبحانك إني كنت من الظالمين لا إله إلا أنت صلوات اللهم صل على محمد اللهم صل على محمد. إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون. صلوات اللهم صل على محمد وعلى ال محمد بارك وسلم اللهم صل على اللهم صل على الله ولي الذين آمنوا الله ولي الذين آمنوا الله ولي الذين آمنوا. صلوات اللهم صل على محمد وعلى ال محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى ال محمد. One final thing that we can do is few moments of reflection, muraqabah, where you close your eyes and you focus on your heart and you think about the blessings of Allah Ta'ala and think about the greatness of Allah Ta'ala. And remember Allah Ta'ala for a moment in your heart. And when you're trying to do this, if something else comes, then make a note of it. Because that's a distraction for you. That's a hindrance for you. You're here trying to remember Allah, and you close your mind, your heart, your eyes, thinking about Allah, and your money comes in your mind, your house comes in your mind, a person comes in your mind, an idea comes, right? So that means these are things that are hindrances that we have to work on. So it's a reflection that allows us to see where we are. Thinking about Allah, but something else comes up. So it's important to make a note of that and then remove those things. Because when we want to think about Allah Ta'ala, nothing but Allah Ta'ala should come into our hearts. So let's spend a few moments doing that. Close your eyes, focus on your heart. The nur of Allah enlighten your heart. لا إله إلا الله. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. ربنا ظلمنا أنفسنا وإن لم تغفر لنا وترحمنا لنكون خاسرين. ربنا لا تزغ قلوبنا بعد إذ هديتنا وهب لنا من لدنك رحمة إنك أنت الوهاب. يا الله يا رحمن يا رحيم Ya Dhan Jalali wa Ikram, Ya Basitu, Ya Allah. Oh Allah, we ask forgiveness, Allah, for our sins, Ya Rabbal Alameen. Oh Allah, we ask forgiveness for all the things that we've done, Ya Allah. Oh Allah, the lack of shukr on our part for all the abundance that you've given us, Ya Rabbal Alameen. Oh Allah, we seek forgiveness, Ya Allah. Oh Allah, all the things that you've given us, Allah, we've misused it, Ya Allah. We've abused it, Ya Rabbal Alameen. Oh Allah, please forgive us, Allah. Allow us to change our ways, Allah. Oh Allah, allow us to use our energies, Ya Rabbal Alameen, in a manner that pleases you, Allah. All our resources, Ya Allah, our wealth, Ya Allah. Oh Allah, our energy, our breath, Ya Allah, our connections, Ya Rabbal Alameen. All these things that you've given us, Ya Allah, to spend in your cause, Ya Allah. Oh Allah, and we've misused it and abused it, Ya Allah, and only cared about enjoying and gaining in this world, Ya Allah, and just hoarding it, Ya Rabbal Alameen. Oh Allah, we seek forgiveness, Ya Rabbal Alameen, for all of these things, Ya Allah. Oh Allah, those that are suffering all over the world, Ya Rabbal Alameen. Allah, we see it every day, Ya Allah. Oh Allah, give them a beautiful patience, Ya Allah. Oh Allah, change their conditions, Ya Rabbal Alameen. Oh Allah, they are connected to you, Ya Rabbal Alameen. Oh Allah, we ask through the du'as that they have, Allah, to change our hearts, Ya Rabbal Alameen. What can we offer, Ya Rabbal Alameen? They're the ones that are beloved, Ya Allah. They're going through so many tests, Ya Allah. We're going through the test of fortune, Ya Allah. They're going through the test of misfortune, Ya Allah, and they're passing it, Ya Allah. Oh Allah, but alleviate their circumstances, Ya Allah. Make it easy for them in this life, Ya Rabbal Alameen. Oh Allah, all those people are suffering all over the world, Ya Rabbal Alameen. Oh Allah, make it easy for them, Ya Rabbal Alameen. All those people that are suffering constraint, Ya Rabbal Alameen, in difficult circumstances and straitened circumstances, Ya Allah, expand their circumstances. Oh Allah, allow them to worship Ya Rabbal Alameen in all states, Ya Rabbal Alameen. Oh Allah, we ask you do those things that please you, Ya Rabbil Alameen, to inspire us to those things that please you, Ya Allah. Oh Allah, we ask you to protect our children, Ya Rabbil Alameen, for the fitna, Allah. Fitna. We ask to protect our communities, our masajid, Ya Allah. All of the works of deen, Ya Rabbil Alameen. Oh Allah, we ask you to give us sincerity, Ya Allah, in our actions, Ya Rabbil Alameen. Allah, we ask you to do those things that are pleasing to Ya Rabbil Alameen. All of those people that are in any type of difficulty, Ya Allah, in financial difficulty, Ya Allah, in spiritual difficulty, Ya Rabbil Alameen. Allah, we ask you, Ya Basit, to expand, Ya Allah, to expand the rizq, Ya Allah, to expand their hearts, Ya Rabbil Alameen. All of those people that are inclined to Islam, Ya Rabbil Alameen, expand their hearts, allow them to accept Islam, Ya Allah, see the beauty of Islam, Ya Rabbil Alameen. Make the means and the difficulties of the Ummah, Ya Allah, as a means of spreading Hidayah, Ya Rabbil Alameen. Oh Allah, allow us to be at the forefront of these things, Ya Rabbal Alameen. Oh Allah, allow us to be partaking in this, Ya Rabbal Alameen. Oh Allah, don't remove us, Allah, and don't change us with other people, Ya Rabbal Alameen. Oh Allah, give us the tawfiq, Allah, to worship you, Allah, and to please you, Ya Rabbal Alameen. Oh Allah, all those people that have passed away, Allah, we ask them to elevate their ranks, Allah, forgive their sins, Ya Rabbal Alameen. All those people that are sick, Ya Rabbal Alameen, Allah, please cure them, Ya Rabbal Alameen. All those people that are without jobs, Allah, give them jobs, Ya Rabbal Alameen. All of those people that are not married, Allah, give them beautiful spouses, Ya Rabbal Alameen. All the different circumstances that they're in, Ya Allah, Ya Basitu, you're the one that can expand the situation, change the situation, Ya Rabbal Alameen. We ask you to forgive you. We ask Allah for forgiveness, Ya Rabbal Alameen. ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم وتب علينا يا مولانا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم وصلى الله تعالى على خير خلقه محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين.